Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Glennie Langell. I'm the Chief of Protocol for the province of Nova Scotia, and I will serve as Master of Ceremony for today's event. It's truly an honor to be here today. I would now ask, please rise. Please welcome the designated members of the Executive Council. The Honourable Stephen McNeil, Premier of Nova Scotia. Ladies and gentlemen, His Honour, Brigadier General, the Honourable J.J. Grant, Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia. Please be seated. On behalf of His Honor, the Lieutenant Governor, I am pleased to welcome you to this morning's swearing-in ceremony. Today's event is taking place in the traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We will begin today with a traditional Mi'kmaq smudging, a ceremony which uses sacred medicines such as sweetgrass or sage, which are placed in a smudge bowl and burned. The rising smoke represents our prayers being taken to the Creator. Smudging plays a central role in traditional Mi'kmaq ceremonies. It helps to open our hearts and minds and spirits to healing. The smudging will be conducted by Elder Doug Knockwood and his son Glenn. I would like to add that Elder Knockwood is also a member of the Order of Nova Scotia.
Thank you very much. An honor and a privilege to be here this morning in this wonderful occasion. It certainly is an honor for me to be representing my people, my Mi'kmaq people, and also my community of Shubenacadie. I welcome each and every one of you, and I hope that the day will be fruitful and successful and carry on through the rest of the years. Sakamau, wasikiskuring manakamsitami, pibanimulog chidabokon mga giskuktan was tested on siskapumino. Pibanima, pibanimka, sakamau musikiskuring outchut dan woltes deu dan edlewes tu di jigno ma ni ma aka eutes nen dan basikelo kisieu me ak mo kisieu mo aka I teblet kisna begwal kalado wek mo kisieu mo pibani mo nge ha outchit wena ka jiksen magudes nen outchit kelo kloso wa kan edlewes tu di jikiskuga eutes dan basikoya nakan kakap tu desnen mset koik keluka ak mugusi yang moek itu det bagi wala aliong na bagi singiskuga aka no ma ni ma emu di jikiskuga wala siek wala aliak taho.
Thank you so much, Elder Knockwood. I would now call upon His Honor, the Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Following the 63rd general election, the Honorable Stephen McNeil, 28th Premier of Nova Scotia, advised me of the results which will enable him to continue in the office to which I commissioned him and to which he was sworn in on the 22nd of October 2013. The Premier has now advised me of the resignation of a number of members of the Executive Council, and as a consequence, the names of those who will form the new Executive Council and the offices to be held by them pursuant to the Executive Council Act and the Public Service Act. As a representative of Her Majesty the Queen in Nova Scotia, I have approved the recommendations submitted to me by the Honorable Stephen McNeil. I would now ask the Clerk of the Executive Council to come forward.
Your Honor, I have been authorized and instructed by the Honorable Diana Whalen to return to Your Honor the Great Seal of the Province of Nova Scotia, which was delivered to the Honorable Diana Whalen upon her appointment as Attorney General and Minister of Justice. Premier, may I ask you to come forward to the signing table?
Your Honor, I have the honor to present for appointment the following persons to the members of the Executive Council: Patricia Arab, Ian Rankin, and Derek Mumbercat.
Premier, I accept your recommendations.
Your Honor, may I ask you to administer the oath of allegiance for the designated members of the Executive Council?
Patricia Arab.
I, Patricia Arab, being appointed to be one of Her Majesty's Executive Council for the Province of Nova Scotia, do swear that I will in all things be a true and faithful counsellor and will not reveal any of the secrets entrusted to my care as such, so help me God.
Ian Rankin.
I, Ian Rankin, being appointed to one of Her Majesty's Executive Council for the Province of Nova Scotia, do swear that I will in all things be a true and faithful counsellor and will not reveal any of the secrets entrusted to my care as such. So help me God.
Congratulations. It's a great honor to be with you today.
Derek Mumbercat.
I, Derek Mumbercat, being appointed to be one of Her Majesty's Executive Council for the Province of Nova Scotia, do swear that I will, in all things, be a true and faithful counsellor, and will not reveal any of the secrets entrusted to my care as such. So help me God.
Congratulations. Welcome to order. Pleased to be with you today.
Your Honor, I recommend the members of the Executive Council to be the holders of the following office: the Honorable Stephen McNeil as President of the Executive Council, Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs, Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, Minister of Regulatory Affairs and Service Effectiveness, Minister responsible for Military Relations, and Minister responsible for Youth. The Honorable Karen Lynn Casey is Deputy President of the Executive Council and Minister of Finance and Treasury Board. The Honorable Keith Caldwell will reaffirm his oath as Minister of Agriculture and Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture. The Honorable Leo A. Glavine as Minister of Communities, Culture and Heritage, Minister of the Voluntary Sector, in addition to his responsibilities as Minister of Seniors. The Honorable Kelly Reagan as Minister of Community Services and Minister responsible for the Advisory Council on the Status of Women's Act. The Honorable Jeff McCullum as Minister of Business, Minister of Energy, Minister of Service Nova Scotia, and Minister of Trade. The Honourable Zach Churchill as Minister of Education and Early Childhood Development. The Honourable Randy Delory as Minister of Health and Wellness, in addition to his responsibilities as Minister of Gaelic Affairs. The Honourable Tony Ince as Minister of Public Service Commission, in addition to his responsibilities as Minister of African Nova Scotian Affairs. The Honourable Lena Metlich-Dieb as Minister of Acadian Affairs and Francophonie, in addition to her responsibilities as Minister of Immigration. The Honourable Labi Kasoulis as Minister of Labour and Advanced Education. The Honourable Mark Fiore as Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Provincial Secretary, and Minister of Labour Relations. The Honourable Lloyd Hines as Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal. The Honourable Margaret Miller as Minister of Natural Resources. The Honourable Patricia Arab as Minister of Internal Services and Minister of Communications, Nova Scotia. The Honourable Ian Rankin as Minister of Environment, and the Honourable Derek Mumbercat as Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Premier, I accept your recommendations. Premier, may I ask you to reaffirm your oath of office as President of the Executive Council, Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs, Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, Minister of Regulatory Affairs and Service Effectiveness, Minister responsible for military relations, and swear your oath as Minister responsible for youth.
I, Stephen McNeil, appointed to be President of the Executive Council, Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs, Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, Minister of Regulatory Affairs and Service Effectiveness, Minister responsible for military relations, and Minister responsible for youth for Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same to the best of my abilities. So help me God. Your Honor, may I ask you to administer the oath of office for the members of the Executive Council?
Please do.
The Honourable Karen Lynn Casey.
I, Karen Lynn Casey, appointed to be Deputy President of the Executive Council and Minister of Finance and Treasury Board for Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Congratulations.
Good to see you.
That's good to be here.
The Honorable Keith Caldwell.
I, Keith Colwell, appointed to the Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture for the province of Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same to the best of my ability. So help me God.
The Honorable Leo A. Levine.
I, Leo Levine, appointed to the Minister of Communities, Culture and Heritage and Minister of Seniors for Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same, to the best of my ability, so help me God.
The Honorable Kelly Regan.
I, Kelly Regan, appointed to be Minister of Community Services and Minister responsible for the Advisory Council on the Status of Women Act for Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same to the best of my ability. So help me God.
No pens like that in Upper Granville, Your Honor.
No.
Not in Glasgow either. No. All the very best.
The Honorable Jeff McClellan.
I, Jeff McClellan, appointed to be Minister of Business, Minister of Energy, Minister of Service Nova Scotia, and Minister of Trade for Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same to the best of my ability. So help me God.
The Honorable Zach Churchill.
I, Zachariah John Churchill, appointed to be Minister of Education and Early Childhood Development for Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Good job.
The Honorable Randy Delory.
I, Randy Delory, appointed to be Minister of Health and Wellness and Minister of Gaelic Affairs for Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same to the best of my ability. So help me God.
The Honorable Tony Ince.
I, Tony Ince, appointed to be Minister of the Public Service Commission and Minister of African Nova Scotia Affairs for the province of Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same, to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Thank you, man. I didn't want to tell you we're going to do that face for public service, but it's up to you. Yeah, thank you.
They just run right over me.
Thank you.
The Honorable Lena Metledge Diab.
Je suis signée Lena Metledge Diab, nommée au poste de ministre de l'Immigration et de ministre des Affaires acadiennes et de la francophonie de la Nouvelle-Écosse, jure solennellement que j'exercerai avec diligence et loyauté les fonctions qui me soient assignées au mieux de mes capacités. Ainsi Dieu me soit en aide. I, Lena Metledge Diab, appointed to be Minister of Immigration and Minister of Acadian Affairs and Francophonie for Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same, to the best of my ability. So help me God.
The Honorable Labi Koskoulis.
I, Labi Koskoulis, appointed to be Minister of Labour and Advanced Education for Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same, to the best of my abilities, so help me God.
Congratulations, Abby.
The Honorable Mark Fury.
I, Mark Fury, appointed to be Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Provincial Secretary, and Minister of Labour Relations for Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same to the best of my ability, so help me God.
The Honorable Lloyd Hines.
I, Lloyd Hines, appointed to be Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal for Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same to the best of my ability. So help me God.
The Honorable Margaret Miller.
I, Margaret Miller, appointed to be the Minister of Natural Resources for Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same to the best of my ability, so help me God.
The Honorable Patricia Arab.
I, Patricia Arab, appointed to be Minister of Internal Services and Minister of Communications Nova Scotia for Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Well done.
The Honorable Ian Rankin.
I, Ian Rankin, appointed to be Minister of Environment for Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Stood up working over there.
The Honorable Derek Momberkat.
I, Derek Mumbercat, appointed to be Minister of Municipal Affairs for Nova Scotia, do swear that I will diligently and faithfully perform the duties of this office while I hold the same to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Thank you. Minister of Justice, would you please come forward? Minister of Justice, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, to your safe custody I commit the Great Seal of the Province of Nova Scotia, the symbol of sovereignty and authority in this province.
I accept this responsibility which you have entrusted to me in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, and I promise faithfully to keep the Great Seal of Nova Scotia in my custody so long as I shall remain Minister of Justice.
Thank you. We are fortunate to live in a province and a country where the smooth transition between democratically elected governments is a very old tradition. As the third oldest continuous democracy in the world and the cradle of Canadian democracy, we have much to be proud of. It was here in Nova Scotia that representative and then responsible government was achieved, under which the Canadian Crown has served as the cornerstone of the democratic freedom, rights, and obligations that make up a central part of our identity. Premier, I wish members of the Executive Council, both those continuing in portfolios and those assuming new responsibilities, all the very best. I would now invite you to address the gathering at this time.
Quiet for me my entire life. I'm not sure why I was saying today there's a much greater feeling of emotion today than there was even 3.5 years ago. I want to thank all of you for coming out and sharing in what is a beautiful day for not only the members of the Executive Council but their families and all of those who work so hard to ensure that they have the privilege to be an elected member in the province of Nova Scotia. Grand Captain Denny, I want to acknowledge your presence. We're standing here in traditional Mi'kmaq territory. I want to thank you and all the chiefs across our province for the continued friendship you've shown our government, the collaboration we've been able to do together, and I look forward, as your minister, to continue to work side by side with you to ensure that all Nova Scotians see themselves reflected in this province. I want to acknowledge their honors. Your Honor, I expressed to you privately, and I'll say publicly how thrilled I am that you still hold that office today to be here as part of this ceremony. My 4 years in being the Premier of this province, it's been indeed my privilege to stand beside you. You represent so much that is good about this province. You represent the Queen so valiantly, along with Mrs. Grant. I want to wish you both all the best in your retirement as you head home to Pictou County. I call it the hotbed of liberalism. But for today's purposes, we'll call it back to Pictou County. I would also acknowledge that the new LG was announced yesterday. It's the first time in our history that an Acadian will hold that office. It's quite remarkable. It's quite remarkable. After all, they were the first immigrants. And I don't have to remind those who know me well where they landed. And for my friends at CBC, it wasn't Quebec. I'm humbled to again stand here as your Premier. It would be impossible for me to be here without Andrea, Colleen, and Jeffrey, and my siblings who are here, and many family members who, over the last 3.5 to 4 years, have had zero input into the decisions that I made as their Premier. And there was no way, when I stood on the stage at King's Theatre in Annapolis Royal, that I could have ever imagined the impact I was about to have on their lives. Whether it was in their place of work, whether it was in their place of worship, whether it was in their circle of friends. They bore the brunt of a lot of my decisions. To you, if our parents were standing here today, they would not be elated that I'm the Premier. They might be proud, but they wouldn't be elated. They wouldn't be elated at the title I hold. What they would be most proud of is the way that you stood beside me with unconditional love in the last 4 years. Acknowledge members of the caucus, former members of the caucus. I'd ask you to stand for a moment. You, along with the men and women standing on this stage, have made this journey such a wonderful journey for me. Through the entire time in our office, we never lost focus on doing what we fundamentally believed as a group that was right for this province. And I know there were days you even questioned that. But I can't tell you how important it has been for me that we've stood together. Right up to the election campaign, we continued to govern on what we thought was right. And then we let the people decide who should have the privilege to be the Premier and government of the Nova Scotia. And because of your commitment, your steadfast loyalty to me and to this province, we have the privilege to do this again. Thank you. I want to thank the members of the Executive Council for agreeing to serve in the positions of high office that each of you have been asked to serve the people of our province. Each member represents our geography, our diversity, and our love of this province. And I have so much confidence in you and the members of our caucus that we continue to work with hard-working Nova Scotians to make this province all it can be. It is so meaningful that we are here today at Pier 21, the gateway for more than 1 million immigrants that came through this pier looking for a new beginning, and many found it here at home. Welcoming newcomers to Nova Scotia has been a priority for our government and will continue to be so. How fortunate are we to be able to live in a province where people from all around the world envy the life that we have, and more of them want to follow our ancestors and come and make a home here in Nova Scotia. Four years ago, I wanted more Nova Scotians to see themselves reflected in our institutions. Our appointment to the bench, our cabinet today, I believe better reflects who we are. But I say to all of you, we have more work to be done. There are too many Nova Scotians who do not see themselves reflected in the important institutions that matter, whether it's the rule of law, whether it's in the House of Assembly, all of the important institutions of the foundation of our democracy. Every Nova Scotian needs to see themselves reflected in those institutions. And we have a lot of work to do, even though I am really proud of the work that we've done in the last 4 years. Clearly, during the campaign, some communities told us they did not feel that they were sharing in the success of our province. My message to them today is we heard you. We know we require a renewed focus on primary health care so that all Nova Scotians have access to top quality care. We know there's more work to be done on improving classroom conditions, and we will continue to work with the Council on Classroom Conditions to improve our classrooms for teachers as well as our students. We've also heard from those Nova Scotians who have struggled every day to meet their basic needs. That's why we will provide a tax cut to the middle class and those Nova Scotians who need it the most. These are important investments that speak to our collective desire to be there for one another. It reflects what it means to be a Nova Scotian. But we cannot make these investments without growing our population and growing our economy. While the last 4 years may have seemed challenging at times, it has positioned our province as one of the strongest in the Federation. As other sister provinces struggle with their financial challenges, our province is in a position to continue to grow our population, our exports, our new businesses, and seen as a positive place to invest. We are about to embark on one of the largest infrastructure investments in our province's history. The 100 Series Highway infrastructure investment, twinning some of our most dangerous highways, and over $200 million community infrastructure investment over the next 4 years. We will expand on youth hiring programs that have proven to be successful so that more of our sons and daughters see their future here in Nova Scotia. Together, we will build an economy that supports investment, celebrates innovation, and encourages new ideas. There are companies out there looking for a home, and boy, do I have a place for them. Looking to invest, and because of your hard work over the last 4 years, our province is now seen as a destination for global investment. Now is not the time to change course. Now is the time to take the feelings that every new immigrant brought into this province so many decades ago, feeling of hope, new beginnings, and build on that inspiration. There is much work for us to do, but we are stronger positioned now than we were 4 years ago, and we are ready to do great things together. Let's capitalize on your hard work over the last 4 years and build on it so that more young people see their future here at home, so that more grandparents realize the dream of seeing their grandchildren in this province, so that more entrepreneurs see this as the province to invest in, to create the opportunity for them and their dreams and their families. It is before us. It will not just be the men and women standing on this stage, though, that will allow us to achieve that dream. It will be all of you. It will be your communities. It will be you who work with us to continue to make sure that this province can be all it can be. I believe with all of who I am that together we can do this job. Thank you so much for being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Premier of Nova Scotia and the members of the Executive Council. Please be seated. It is now my pleasure to introduce a musical performance by Susie Hansen. Susie is a member of the Phoenix Community Choir. Today's ceremony is very special to each and every member of the Executive Council, and it's also about responsibility and public service, and the musical choice reflects that. Today, Susie will perform If I Can Help Somebody, accompanied by Diana Turbert. Please welcome Susie Hansen.
If I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or a song, if I can show somebody that they're traveling wrong, then my living shall not be in vain. My living shall not be in vain. Then my living shall not be in vain. If I can help somebody as I pass along, then my living, it shall not be in vain. If I can do my duty as a good person ought, if I can bring back beauty in a world so abroad, if I can spread love's message like my good Lord taught, then my living, it shall not be in vain. My living shall not be in vain. Oh, my living shall not be in vain. Well, if I can help somebody as I pass along, then my living shall not be in vain.
Hey, great job. I'm so glad you came. I really am. When they asked me, I said, I know where we're going for talent.
God bless you.
You're on all security.
Susie Hanson. Thank you, Susie. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed with the first official photograph of the Premier and members of the Executive Council with his honors. I would ask the members of the Executive Council in the second row only to please rise and stand behind the first row. I now invite the members of the media to come forward to take the official photographs. Ladies and gentlemen, this now concludes the official portion of the ceremony. Please rise for the national anthem to be led by Susie Hanson, and please remain standing for the departure of their honors, the Premier, and the members of the Executive Council.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all our sons' commands, with glory
historic event. On behalf of the Premier and Mrs. McNeil, I would now invite you to proceed